Welcome back to Podcasting for Real Estate Pros. Today in episode 4, we're going to talk about clarifying your message, how to stand out without shouting. So for example, if you're yelling into the void with market updates and interest rate talk and still getting zero traction, it's not your volume, it's your messaging. So let's fix that. Hey, I'm your host, Sue Willoughby, and we are back with another No Fluff Real Estate Podcasting Blueprint episode. Today, we're going to talk about how to craft a message that cuts through the noise without sounding like you're trying too hard to pitch a sales program. All right, because being loud doesn't equal being heard. Do you ever listen to a conversation where people are just like one person's talking over the other person, and then the other person talks a little bit louder, and the other person talks a little bit louder, and they're just talking over and over and over? Nobody is hearing what the other person is saying. So loud does not equal being heard. Just saying. Most agents feel like, that they have a messaging problem. Like, well, if I tweak this, if I get a better hook, if I do that, they think it's a messaging problem. But what they really have is a clarity problem. They're trying to be clever. They're trying to be funny instead of being clear. But clever confuses, clarity converts. So if your listener cannot immediately say, oh, this podcast is for me with a capital M-E, then they're gone. They keep scrolling. They tune out. They binge a murder mystery podcast instead. Otherwise, they could be booking a discovery call with you and figuring out why you are the right agent to work with them. So when we're talking about messaging framework, we want to know, who is it for? Be really clear here. Don't just say, this message is for home buyers. Well, that's a pretty big audience. And while you may want to reach every single home buyer in your region, you're probably not going to end up working with all of them. So you want to say something more like, I am trying to reach single women buying their first condo downtown, or busy parents relocating for their new job. Something like that. That is a very specific audience. So if you're making conversation on your podcast about these types of things, they're going to be like, hey, they're going to turn up the volume. They're going to put their earbuds in and they're going to go, this is what I want to know about. Secondly, we talked about this before. What problem are you solving? Nobody wakes up craving a podcast. They crave answers. So what is the problem that they have that's burning them to the ground and keeping them up at night? I don't know what I can afford might be their problem. Or I'm overwhelmed with the process. Now, a lot of these things are going to come up, especially with first-time home buyers. They have no clue, if they want to start looking, what they can even afford. Or they don't want to compete. They think that the home buying process is too daunting. So they're just overwhelmed. The other thing is maybe they don't trust agents. There are some bad actors out there that give real estate agents a bad name. So they may just not trust you, and they may not want to work with you because they just don't trust any agents. You've got to meet them where they are, not where you wish that they were. You can help them get there, but you need to meet them where they are. So what transformation are you promising? If you know who you're talking to specifically, you know what their pain point is, then how can you help them with their transformation? You want to give them a reason to listen, not just knowledge, but confidence, clarity, calm, and readiness. You're not just delivering tips and tricks. You're delivering a shift. You're taking them on a journey. You're letting them understand that you are the person that will help them get through this journey, which can be long and difficult and confusing. You're delivering a transformational shift. So take your current podcast or brand intro and run it through this test. Is there clarity in one sentence? Secondly, does it pass the would my ideal client nod their head test? If they're listening, are they going, yeah, that's me. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Are they nodding along with everything that you're saying? And lastly, does it sound like you? Or does it sound like you trying to be someone else that you think that they want to hear? If that's the case, then they are not going to resonate with you. So if your brand or if your intro reads like a resume or a conference bio, then scrap it because it's not personal. You want to get personal. The thing about podcasting is it is personal. So rewrite it like you're texting a friend who needs what you offer, that needs your support, that needs your guidance. Here's some other common mistakes that people make. As real estate agents, we use a lot of jargon and we use it between each other. But you know what also happens is when we try and use it with our clients, they just look at us like deer in the headlights. They're like, what? What are you talking about? What? So don't use too much real estate jargon in your podcast. And when you're talking to people in real life either, because they don't understand. We know this stuff like the back of our hand, but they do not. So you need to speak to them in a common language that they can understand. Another mistake is talking like a generic expert, not a relatable human. So if you're just rattling off facts and figures and stuff that you've heard, you're like parroting things like, yeah, the other day, you're saying the same thing that everybody else is saying. It's not personal. It's not personable. It's not engaging in any way, shape, or form. So try not to just parrot what you've already heard. If you're trying to be too polished instead of real, people are going to pick up on that. It's like, it's going to sound like you're totally rehearsed. You know what? You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. You're human. If you sound like this and you are reading like a robot, then it is not relatable or even fun to listen to. So dial that stuff back a notch. I get it. You might be a little bit nervous at first, but it will come. It will be natural and it will flow. Trust me. So what's your message? It should sound something a little bit more like this. This show is for blank, who's struggling with blank and wants to blank. I'm here to help. All right. Fill in those blanks. Write that sentence down and then try it a few times. Sometimes when you write things down or you type them out, it's coming out of your head, but it's not coming out of your mouth. So read things aloud and then go, that sounds like crap, or that just doesn't sound natural, or that doesn't flow. And then you can go back and tweak it. Try it a few times. It's simple, it's direct, it's powerful. That's how your message should sound. It should also sound just natural. Simple, direct, powerful, and natural. All right, in our next episode, we're going to be diving into content pillars. You're going to figure out what the heck you want to talk about every week so you never run out of value-packed episodes. Plan ahead. It's another good thing, we'll talk about this later, is batching your episodes. So you can sit down and you can record, pick a day that is your content creation day, and then record 2, 3, 4 episodes, especially if they're short. They don't have to be 2-hour-long episodes, unless, of course, you want them to be. But a little pro tip here, nobody's going to listen, okay? So keep them short, keep them sweet, keep them on point, and keep them friendly and all of that kind of good stuff. Until then, stop shouting, start resonating. If you've got something to say, your people will hear it, and they will thank you for it. All right, download your workbook, do your homework, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey, future podcaster, quick heads up. This series comes with a free workbook to make your life way easier. So don't just listen, actually do the work. You can grab your free copy of the workbook today. The link is in the show notes.